Hi everyone. I want to make a video about how I respond to disappointment. The reason I'm doing this is to help other people who may have just acquired an injury that's going to cause them to be physically disabled for the rest of their life or for several months while they go through a healing process. There's been a lot that I've had to deal with as my body's digressed. So I'd like to try to help other people with the skill I've used. I'm not particularly trying to say this is the only way to respond, but this is how I've responded to the disappointment in my life. Well, I've lost my mobility, and then I've had to stop engaging in various social activities. So I start by not pushing away the feelings of being disappointment or being disappointed. The reason I do this is I try very hard in my life to live in the here and now, not in the past or not in the future. So if something's bothering me, then I want to deal with it, maybe not immediately, but sooner than later. I don't want to wake up someday being 50 or 60 years old and having a lot of baggage emotionally that needs to be dealt with. And I'm very sensitive to emotional issues. And if you are in the situation where you're working through your issues, I do want to applaud you. The reason I say that I'm not wanting to wake up with a lot of emotional baggage when I'm 50 or 60 is because I've seen this happen in so many people around me. So I'm trying my best to deal with things as they occur. After I feel disappointed and it's lasted for a few days, I talk to someone who's knowledgeable about the subject but not directly involved in the situation. So if I'm going to fight a battle, I want to make sure that it's the right battle that I'm fighting. There are some things that just aren't worth taking on, and I'm going to end up living my life a certain way for whatever reason I've determined it, and someone else is going to approach life differently, and I am genuinely okay with this. I always ensure that I have sufficient sleep to deal with either disappointment or any emotionally based issues. So I know I don't do well when I'm overtired, and it's part of why I put a very high priority on sleeping, and will even cancel social engagements over needing to get enough rest for my body. When I get overtired, my emotions usually win, and I'm just spent. And even if I was to go out, it's not worth it. There's no joy in trying to engage in a social activity when I'm so tired that there's nothing left to really enjoy. I hope that makes sense. I also don't react immediately. I don't have a problem with giving some consideration to an opposing point of view. It's entirely possible that someone has realized there's a different way of doing things, and it's possible that I could learn from the situation. There are also things that I do in my life that are based on having limited mobility, using a wheelchair for mobility, and the effects chronic pain has on me. So some well-meaning people suggest I do something a certain way, and it's not going to work because of my physical disability, and I know that up front. So advice like this I kind of take like a water off a duck's back. It's just not, it's not worth it, and it's not worth trying to fight over it. Some people who give advice are only wanting to be heard, and they will not understand if you try to explain why you're doing something a certain way. For the most part, if I'm talking to someone and they've suggested something and I come back with, I'm not doing it this way because of, and then explaining whatever reason or shortcoming my body's created, they're very reasonable in understanding this. So I always take time to think. Then I approach the situation objectively. And so this would be, like, let's say the facility I use for my physiotherapy. If they were doing something one way that is really counterproductive, I would have no problem suggesting a different method that would be helpful to me and likely to other people who have a physical disability. Or else if someone has come to me with a suggestion, I usually ask them to wait a few days and I will get back to them so I've had time to think. And it's very common that the pain that I experience really fatigues me, and I'm not sleeping well at night. So I want to respond when I'm at my best. So I know there are some people I'm not going to be able to convince that the decision I've made is the right one. And at that point, I let it go. Otherwise, I try my best to sit down and talk something through when it's good for me and the person or people involved. And finally, with my faith, I take time to pray about things that are bothering me. And ultimately, I'm committed to my life, and I want to do the most that I'm capable of. And I'm willing to work hard at my life to try to make it work. And so I don't have any qualms over praying when feeling weak or vulnerable. And if you open the Bible to the Psalms, you'll see a lot of reflective material in there where it's people like King David going through struggles in his own life. So I don't have a problem praying when feeling weak, although it took a while to get used to it, especially when my mobility suddenly disappeared in 2006. I hope this has been of some help to you. I know it's a real ride during the ups and downs that come with a physical disability. So I just want to try my best to support you and the other people who use these videos. Thank you for your time today. Bye for now.